Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bootcamp. It's our very first session together. Thank you all for being here, and special thanks to those of you that logged in a little bit early. I definitely appreciate that tremendously. Hopefully you can see me and hear me. If not, then please just type in the chat box. Welcome to my office where I spend a great deal of time every day. I'm going to have my video on during the session, so you should be able to see me, and you should also be able to see the screen. So we have been anticipating today for quite a while, and I'm very excited to kick off boot camp with all of you. I hope you had a wonderful holidays, and I hope you're ready for your best ever 2020, because we definitely are here at Fathom. It's going to be a super exciting year. So let me tell you about the goal of our boot camp together. And our goal is really to help you build your individual recruiting system. And that really goes beyond more than just hiring a certain amount of agents per month. It's really about building a systematic and repeatable business for you that has several different income streams that allows you to do the things that you want to do personally and professionally. So throughout our boot camp together, and we've got 4 sessions, we're going to be layering on different elements of your recruiting system. And my screen is not advancing. We were doing so good too. There's always like one glitch like this. Let me figure out what's happening with that. Oh, goodness. I'm going to do a new share. All right, let me know if you are seeing my, I'm going to stop sharing and then I'm going to reshare. So let me know if you are seeing the PowerPoint. If you guys can chat that in the chat for me. All right, are we seeing the PowerPoint? Yes, love it. Thank you. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's see if we can advance the PowerPoint. Well, that's what's not happening. So I put on a remote, so I'm going to take off the remote because I think that is the reason it's not working. And that is not the reason. Okay. So we're going to try this one more time. Sorry, everyone. It always works perfectly until like you're doing it for real. Okay. So, oh, there we go. Are you advancing? There. All right. Do you guys see a new screen? Woohoo! Thank goodness. Give me a heart attack there for a second. Okay. So, getting back into the flow of things. So, developing your recruiting system for your business is really our goal. So, we're going to do that over the next 4 sessions together. And we're going to be layering each session. So each week, we're going to start with some concepts and some strategies around recruiting, and then we'll layer on the next week to add on to that. So you're going to have to be a little bit patient. For those of you that have your recruiting muscles, ready to go, we got to take this one step at a time. I think it's, very interesting that we use sort of the phrase boot camp, because it really is like an exercise boot camp where you don't go into the gym that first day and do 100 pull-ups. You don't, many of you know I'm a runner. You don't go run a marathon on your first day running. You slowly build up your mileage. And that's what we're going to do, is we're going to build up your recruiting muscles. And in between, we're going to have some follow-up. You're going to have an opportunity to have some one-on-one conversations with myself, Jean, Sam, the team is here to support you. And you see sort of the agenda there. All of our sessions will be about 45 minutes. We'll do about 30 minutes where I'll be sharing the content from the session, and then I'm going to leave the last part of it open for a Q&A so that you get a chance to ask questions about what I've delivered in content throughout the session. And we can handle the Q&A a couple different ways. Many of you have found your chat box. So in your Zoom navigation, you'll find a chat box there. You'll also be able to, if you would like, you can text message me directly. So my phone number is 310-988-5148. So if you'd like to send a text message with a question either during the session or after the session, feel free to do that, and we'll make sure that all your questions get answered. All right, so let's jump in. So first thing I want to start with is hitting that big reset button, because there are some major changes that have happened in our industry, and it has a lot to do with really mindset and with the industry growing and the industry continuing to elevate. So it's required us to really have a mindset change in two different areas. So I want us to kind of hit that reset button. And the first area that I want to hit the reset button on with is how we look at today's real estate professional. Because today's real estate professional is very, very different than the real estate professional of 2 years, 5 years, 10 years ago. Today's producing real estate professional, and notice the producing word in there because that's a key word for us. Today's producing real estate professional really views themselves as an entrepreneur. They view themselves as a self-sufficient, independent business owner. Not only are they working on commission sales, but they're looking to grow a long-term viable business. Many of them see themselves as startups. They've been in the business 2 or 3 years. They've done some production. They really have aspirations to do a lot more production, and they're trying to figure out how to do that. They're looking for solutions. They have a vision. They're innovative. They want to know how people have done it in the past, but they want to know what's working right now, and they're really hungry for that knowledge. So we need to reset how we look at our real estate professional base, because that is a very important lens to start your recruiting conversations with and for your retention conversations with your agents. So when you think of a real estate agent, think of a hustling, savvy, working hard entrepreneur that's building a business, because that truly is what today's producing agent, how they view themselves. The second part of that reset button that we need to hit is then how we view ourselves, because we need to view ourselves as leaders. Today's entrepreneurial producing real estate agent wants to work with a leader, whether it is your role as a DD, office manager, broker owner, whatever that role is, the person who is leading them in their local market needs to view themselves as a leader. So that means for you, you may need to reset how you view yourself, the value you bring to those relationships with your agents, with the realtor community in your local market, because leadership is key. And you know, leadership is such an interesting word and concept. And one of the things that I wrote down a quote, so I want to make sure I get this right. And all of you sports fans will like this one, because I get some feedback occasionally talking with leaders, real estate leaders, of, well, do I need to be a top producing agent in order to attract top producing agents? Do I need to have run a team in order to attract teams? And the answer to that question is no. Leadership is about learning and understanding and sharing and guiding and caring and passing through knowledge. It doesn't mean you have to have done it all personally. Bringing out that best in somebody else, you don't have to have all the answers. You have to be able to guide them through your leadership. So John Elway, who retired as the world's two-time world championship and the winningest most NFL quarterback of all time, for most of his career was coached by Mike Shanahan. And I love the football coaching analogies because football coaches are amazing and what they're able to pull out of people. So Mike Shanahan coached John Elway for most of his career, and Mike Shanahan never played pro football. So I wanted to give that as an example of you don't have to have been that top producer in order to lead and develop top producers in your marketplace. There's a great book called The $1 Trillion Coach that highlights the career of a gentleman named Bill Campbell. And Bill Campbell was and is the executive coach to many of Silicon Valley's key executives. So we're talking people at Zillow, people at Facebook, people at LinkedIn, people at all kind of the big startups that you would know. Behind the scenes, have a coach, have a leader. And that's what you are to the real estate agents that you're bringing into your area in your marketplace. So that's our 2 reset button. Agents as entrepreneurs, you as business leaders. So let's focus in then on 2020. So as a leader, you personally need to know where you're going and what your destination is for 2020. So let's talk a little bit about that. So we have 2 big opportunities at Fathom when we think of 2020 and the year ahead. You have your personal financial opportunity. We're going to talk about that. Then we have the opportunity to change lives. It really is amazing the impact that we can have on people through the opportunity that we have. So I want to talk about that a little bit more as well. But let's zone in first on your personal financial opportunity. Because when we solve the financial part of the equation, it makes it a whole lot easier to focus on helping people change their lives. So we got to make sure that you're comfortable financially and that you have a roadmap that puts you on the path to seeing the financial goals that you have for yourself. So on the financial part, we really have 3 main areas here at Fathom, plus a bonus area that our financial goals are set around. So we have the recruiting goal, we have a production per person goal, and you have your own personal production. I recognize that many of you are still producing. So you've got those 3 areas on the financial part. So we're going to break those down for each of you on how we get to your personal financial goal for the year. And to do that, I want to introduce you to a concept. And this is a concept centered around, of all things, napkins. And one of the biggest skills that we have as leaders is the ability to make things simple. We tend to overcomplicate way too much stuff in business and frankly, and in life. So the concept is called back of the napkin. And it's really a concept about how do we simplify things, because the simpler it is, the easier it is to focus on and the higher the likelihood of the outcome that you want to achieve with that. And the concept is based on this book, which is called Back of the Napkin. And the idea is that anything that we can solve on the back of a napkin and keep it simple will lead to a greater likelihood of outcome. So what we've developed for you is a tool that we're calling the Fathom District Director Back of the Napkin Recruiting and Income Worksheet. So I am going to cross your fingers with me, go to a new screen with all of you now, and show you the back of the napkin spreadsheet. And we're going to fill it out together. And then I'm going to email this to all of you after today's call. So you guys should be seeing the Excel spreadsheet. Are you guys all seeing that now? Cool. Awesome. Okay. So this is blank. And when you get this, you'll be able to fill in 10 different cells on the spreadsheet, and they're the ones highlighted in yellow. So essentially here on column B is an example. So you can follow through on the example. And then you can see on the right-hand side where the yellow cells are, put in your own numbers there, but you'll be able to see an example to follow through the math. So first cell we're going to fill in is this cell D14, where it says, how many agents are you currently at? So whatever it is in your region. So if you're at 50, you type in 50 there. If you're at 100, you type in 100 there. So whatever you were at the beginning of the year. And then next you want to type in how many agents you plan on hiring this year. So whatever your goal is for hiring agents, and you may find that you have to go through the worksheet a couple different times and change this depending on sort of what the financial outcome is in the bottom, and that's what we'll get there. So let's just say we do our 2 a month. So we're going to do 24, we're going to hire 24 agents this year. Then we've got to decide how many agents are we going to lose. So attrition is a part of it. So let's say we lose 2 agents. You'll notice the math automatically calculated and told us that if we had that outcome for recruiting results, we'd end the year at 72 agents in our area. Next question it asks are, what are the number of transactions per person completed by new hires? So this is just the 24 agents that you hired throughout the year. So remember, you're going to have a rolling year, and we're using a little bit of sort of ballpark numbers here. So it's not an exact science, but an agent that might have been producing 8 transactions throughout a year, if you don't hire them to June, you're only going to get 4 transactions from that agent in your transaction count. So, so use a number here. And again, you can go back and play with these numbers. So let's say that it is 4. You get what you get paid as a district director for a new hire. And I see some comments coming in the chat box about that. So if you have questions about that stuff, we can chat with Sam and Jean about that after. So then that tells us what our goal is around recruiting just on new hires. We then also have the fees that we earn as DDs from the transactions that those new agents did. So remember, we said the new agents we hired are going to do 4 transactions. So it automatically did the math for us and told us there's an additional income around that. So you can see as we change these numbers and increase them, the income numbers are going to go up, dramatically along the way. Whoops, put that in the wrong spot. So that is the fun of the spreadsheet, is you can tweak and work with those numbers along the way. So then let's go to our existing agent base, because we said in this example we started with 50 existing agents. So how many transactions per person are those existing agents going to do? Now this number should be higher than the transactions that you use for the new agents that you're hiring, because these are agents that you already have with you. So let's just say they're going to do on average 8 transactions per person. And again, you can play with those numbers. So that tells you the income that you have coming in from your existing agents. So you can imagine what happens to these numbers when we get to 100 and 150 and 200 agents in your market. It really explodes your income opportunity. So then for many of you, you still have your personal production that you're working with, and you're trying to, in some cases, move from kind of less personal production to more on the business side, of the leadership side with Fathom. So this gives you a chance to kind of weigh that out of, okay, what does that look like? So you can say, okay, well, this year I want to make 100,000 in personal production on top of my district director leadership income. So what would that take to do that? So I put in my 100,000. I say I'm in a marketplace that maybe the average sale price is 300,000. And I earn 2.5% commission on average off of a transaction. That tells me I got to do 13 ends of business. So now I can start to put the layers of the system together. What do I need to do to recruit people from a time perspective? What do I need to do to retain and increase my production per person from a time perspective? And then how do I work in my personal production to get my 13 transactions done from a time perspective? And this is where, as we go throughout Bootcamp and we start building out your personal recruiting and business system, we'll layer in all 3 of these areas on how you manage sort of the time that we have. And time is the great equal flyer. I don't think that's the right word, but we all have the same amount of time. Nobody has more time than anyone else. So it keeps us on the same playing field. Last area we have here is mentor income. Now, some of you also mentor on top of your personal production and your district director role. So if that applies to you, then you can fill in here that I mentor, 6 agents. They do maybe 4 transactions per person. Average sale price is $300,000. We get 2.5% in my market. And then it will add on the opportunity that you have from mentorship. So we've put here in this column any other income sources that you have. So we're thinking kind of holistically. In this scenario that we went through, this district director would have hired 24 agents, so straight lining it, 2 per month, would have worked with an average production per person and worked with their agent base to get their production per person of existing agents up to 8, and would have done 13 of their own deals and mentored 6 agents and would have made just under $200,000 a year. So that's pretty good in most markets. And those are not big numbers. So when you play with this spreadsheet, you're going to get the opportunity to see really all of the sort of upside that is available in our opportunity. And the one area that we didn't add to the spreadsheet that we'll be talking more about as the year goes on are the company shares and what happens as you collect more of those shares, and in particular as the impending announcement of going public and all of those things happen. So you've got a whole other area of that has huge upside potential available to you. So I don't know about you guys, but that all seems pretty exciting to me. And I can tell you that in looking and working with brokerages across the country over my whole career, I've really not seen upside like this that is available in a district director role. So I think it's very cool. So I'm going to share this spreadsheet with all of you. We're not going to ask for you to share this back with Jean or Sam or myself. This is private for you to have this tool to use. We would love it if you could share, particularly your recruiting goals, and that part of it we will ask for you to share. We're happy to help you with questions on this spreadsheet. Jean is fully versed on how to use the spreadsheet and questions about it. So in your calls with him, if you want to chat about it and use it as a tool, feel free to do that. But we want you to have a very clear vision of what your financial goal is so that we can help you achieve it. So speaking of achieving it, now we have a couple more spots on the bottom of the spreadsheet. And here we've broken down, if I've got to hire 24 new agents, what does that entail? So if I got to hire 24 agents, then how many per month per that is that? And you'll notice here on the left, it says your target number of new hires divided by 11. So we all know there's 12 months in the year, but we divide this by 11 to base it on the fact that you should have some holidays planned there, and we're just coming off a holiday season, so you know that there's those holiday seasons. You might want to base it off of 10 to give yourself more vacation time, whatever sort of works for you. You can build that there. But of course, we're rounding up. So in these numbers, when you do the true math, you'll see some some decibels there, but you want to round up because you can't hire a 0.2 of a person. So always round up on those. Next question it asks is then how many interviews does it take you to typically hire a new agent? So this is going to be a personal question. And an interview might be a phone interview, might be an in-person interview. And that's something that we can chat more about, and we will be chatting more about in the upcoming sessions. But let's just use a rule of thumb to say, like, it takes 3 to hire a new agent, a new producing agent. So that tells me then that I need to have 72 interviews booked annually, or 7 per month, or 2 per week, again, rounding up. So now I've got this big income goal, and I've broken it down to what do I need to do this week? I need to book 2 interviews this week. And then I know that I got to do whatever prospecting it takes to book those 2 interviews. This is a very parallel concept to what many of you have probably worked out with your agents for years, right? It's the same thing that we would do around how many listings do I need to take, how many buyers do I need to work with, how many appointments do I need to work each week. And I was gonna put that on here as well, but you can work that out. I know that you guys know how to do that. So I wanted to stay focused on the recruiting part of it, since that's our topic. So here at the bottom, then the last section for you to fill out is then how are you gonna get those interviews? So if I know my goal is 2 interviews per week, where am I gonna get those interviews from? So I'm gonna switch back over to the PowerPoint that we were at, and we're gonna talk about where we get the interviews from. So recruiting sources. So how do we build relationships and get people to see our leadership, see the value that we have here at Fathom? So I want to start layering on some concepts. And the first concept I want to introduce you to is what we call the top 25. And the concept of the top 25 is that you want to identify 25 agents. Now, not necessarily 25 of the top producers in your marketplace. You want to identify agents that you have a relationship with, agents in your market who have sold a Fathom listing, producing agents in your market who have sold Fathom listings, or Fathom agents have sold their listings, rising stars in your marketplace. So just 25 people that are producing agents that you feel could be a good fit for the culture of your company, for the culture of your market. And put them on an Excel spreadsheet. And in fact, I've added a tab into the back of the napkin spreadsheet that we were just on for you to list out your top 25. Because what we want to do with the top 25 is start nurturing those relationships. Later on in Bootcamp, we'll talk about trigger events, but trigger events are those things that happen that agents say, like, I'm all fine until I'm not all fine and I'm ready to make a switch to a new brokerage. So you want to stay in touch with them, track their new listings, track their sales, visit their open houses from time to time, friend them on social, engage with them, sort of build that relationship with them. Recruiting producing agents is about relationship building. It is very rare that you have one conversation with a recruiting agent or with an experienced agent and they say, oh yeah, I want to join, send me the paperwork. It's going to take multiple touch points and nurturing that relationship along the way. One of the best ways to nurture those relationships for agents that are on your top 25 list and that you're trying to recruit, and also for your existing agents, are what we call appreciation calls. Appreciation calls are just gold. I mean, we really don't show enough appreciation in the world. So this is just a great way that is not making a cold call. It is really sort of building a relationship in a different way. So who do we call for an appreciation call? You want to call producing agents in your market that have sold Fathom listings in 2019. So go into IntelliAgent, pull out that list, call all those agents and say thank you for selling one of our listings. You want to do the flip side and call producing agents in your market who one of our Fathom agents sold one of their listings and thank them for the transaction with Fathom and with one of our agents. You want to call agents that are at other companies that give back to our industry. So people that are on the boards, that volunteer their times in any of the organizations locally, give them a call and just say thank you. Like, I know nobody probably really does this, but I just want to say we appreciate it. I know it takes time away from your family and your personal life to do these things, to give back to the industry. And it's very somebody that keeps off of. So I'm going to try to fix that while I keep talking. It's always a fun thing to do. Next, you want to call agents that have shown Fathom listings. So any agents that have shown Fathom listings, it's always great.
All it is garbled Darth Vader noise.
Okay, I'm hearing somebody talking about Darth Vader noise. I'm trying to mute you. I think it's Igna. Igna, if you can mute yourself, that would be fabulous. Thank you. Cool. Okay. So agents that have showed a Fathom listing, those are great appreciation calls to have as well. Agents that are doing good marketing, agents you've met at open houses. So we've got a whole list of people to call. What are you saying during this call? You're saying thank you. And here's the whole script written out for you. So exactly what to say, you're going to get these notes and you can give them a call and say thank you, we appreciate you. And here's your killer question after you say thank you. I'm curious, how are you feeling about the 2020 market? That is a dynamite question right now in Q1 to ask, because people are, just getting into the swing of the market and you want to get them talking, and this is a great way to get them talking. So ask that question and give this script a try. So this is week 1. We've got your top 25 and your appreciation calls. That's going to be part of our system on sort of week 1. In week 2 boot camp, we're going to layer on more parts of the system, the same with week 3 and the same with week 4. So in between now and next week, we want to get you started on building out your system. So here's your homework for this week. Complete your personal goals. So I'm going to email you after today's call your financial goal worksheet. Like I said, if you have any questions on filling that out, I'm available, Jean's available. We can help you with questions on that. Should be pretty straightforward. Just fill in the yellow blanks. You want to create your top 25 agent list. So those 25 agents that are producing agents that you have some relationship with, have been identified in the market, have sold our listings, have some connection with, that become sort of our nurture agent. And you're going to put that on tab 2 in the Excel spreadsheet that I send you. And we'll start talking more about what to do with that. And then the last part of our homework is you're going to make 25 appreciation calls. So we've been talking about appreciation calls and that importance of building relationships. So between now and next Friday, I want you to make 25 appreciation calls. It could be to your top 25 list that you create. It might be sort of some of those agents and other agents. You decide. Just pick up the phone and have a nice conversation with somebody and say, thank you, we appreciate you, we're here, if there's anything we can help. That's a part of today's leadership, and what today's entrepreneurial producing agent is looking for is a leader that connects and engages with them and can begin to demonstrate how they can help them build their business. And that's step 1 of developing our skills as leaders and as talent attractors, is building that relationship. So for those of you that are in new markets, this is a particularly important part of what you're going to be starting to do in building your brand and getting awareness out there that you are in the market. So that's your homework. And I'm going to turn it over to Q&A. So anybody got any questions they would like to ask, just type them in the chat box. I've got a couple coming in on text. So let me, I'm just reading the chat box here. I hope I'm not too close on the camera. Okay. So factoring in attrition on the spreadsheet. So I got a question about that. So there was a cell right at the top that factored in attrition. So we took your net agents and then, the agents that you would lose was factored into the top. Once you get the spreadsheet, I think that you'll see that is factored into it. In our existing agent base, I didn't take out attrition there because it was factored into the top, but you can factor that into your production per person. Like I said, the idea of the back of the napkin is to keep it simple enough that we get to kind of the vision of it without overcomplicating it with making it, a spreadsheet with 100 different cells that we had to fill in. We can get like very detailed and complicated with all of that. So we wanted to keep it very high level. JR, I love your comment. I'm going to call that out. We need to be leaders, not managers. That's exactly the reset button that I was hoping that we would hit together today is we're not managers. We are leaders, and we're leading entrepreneurs. And that is an important distinction as well. So one of the greatest superpowers we all have as leaders is that ability and that willingness to learn and increase our skills. And that's what boot camp is all about. Okay, I got a couple of questions coming in on text. I'm just going through the chat to make sure I'm covering everything. So our calls next week will be at the same time. I know some of you logged in a little bit early. So they're 8 West Coast time, and then just work across the country to Central and Eastern Standard Time. So it's 8 and then 11, so same time as your normal leadership calls. Okay, let me see. I think that, all right, I think that covers our questions. So you're gonna get a follow-up email from me with your spreadsheet and with a copy of today's presentation that has the script to do your appreciation calls. Keep us updated along the way. I wanna know, give me a yes in the chat box if you're all in for your 25 appreciation calls this week. Yes, awesome, good job. We're all in. We're gonna keep it simple, we're gonna keep it effective, and we're gonna hit those results for 2020. I love it. I'm so happy to be able to be on this journey with all of you. So I'm gonna sign off, and I will talk to you next Friday, same time, same place. You all have, it's the exact same link as you use for today's call for next Friday's call. If you need anything in between now and then, just reach out, and hope you have a wonderful weekend, and happy recruiting next week on your personal production sheet, your top 25, and your 25 appreciation calls. Take care.